Today I will be showing you the full 2-year update on this ginormous multi-species vivarium. The first thing I want to do is just take you back in time when this thing was built. The initial main feature was always that waterfall section, the heavy plant growth towards the back areas, and unfortunately this didn't last very long. Every single introduction of a new species was always terrifying. It always did worry me that something was going to go wrong. The first additions though were isopods, fire ants or European fire ants, and springtails. Due to the heavy growth of the plants and the fact that there wasn't many in the population, I didn't see the isopods for months. This is when the tank was at 6 months old, and this was at my absolute favourite point. Everything had grown in exactly how my vision had seen it, and after so many months of researching, finally that vision was coming to life. It was around 1 year old here as well. This is when things were starting to get even bigger, things were developing even more, but I made a few mistakes along the way. And gradually over time, the isopods started to take over, and they ate everything. But the isopods weren't the downfall of the plants. It was actually the stick insects that I introduced. And they left it like this. Obviously, I took all of them out in the end, and the recovery started to happen. The fire ants, however, they were still prolific. Nesting in more than one area, they actually decided to have 3 satellite nests. Rocky, who I raised as a juvenile Asian forest scorpion, you will see him on previous videos, ended up getting put into this tank finally after it was old and mature enough to go in. But everything that got put into this tank, including Rocky, did flourish. The morning geckos, 2 Rocky, the fire ants, isopods, the frogs, everything that was in here absolutely flourished. Once I had to condemn the water area, Alfred unfortunately had to come out of this tank. The ants chewed through the plastic in the end, meaning the water section had to be filled with soil. I did love having Alfred in here, although he was a big eater. And I didn't mind that he was such a big eater because his personality was even bigger. My ghost praying mantis was another one that I absolutely loved, and unfortunately praying mantis generally only live for around 10 months. He's no longer with us today, but he is in memory. There's a lot of other species that I will be running through on this video in particular, but I will break it down on each individual thing that I have or added in here. So make sure you don't go anywhere because you will miss out on things. After a couple of months on this tank got established, the maintenance started to become really easy. In addition to that, I started to just add any leftover fruit, veg, chicken, anything that I had left over, I would often just add it in here. That includes the bones on chicken wings or anything like that as well, and guaranteed all of them would go. And around 1 year and 2 months into this project, I did add some Passionoda grubs or beetle grubs in there as well, because I wanted them to start sieving through that soil even more. I added these bumblebee millipedes in when the tank was around 6 months old. Now, I only saw them 6 months ago, so it has been 1 year since I've seen them, but it was really nice just to see them, and at least I know they're still happy, and that's all that matters. But I would definitely love to see them more. The fire ants, however, as you can see, they're always moving to different satellite nests depending on what times I water, how much I water, on which side of the tank, everything like that. If it's more humid and moist on one side of the tank, generally speaking, they'll be moving there the next day and setting up a new camp. And you can see how quick they work. I would estimate a few thousand workers now at this point. I am starting to get alerts, but the isopods, we've also probably got a few thousand in here as well. Unfortunately for me, I did only add the grey species in, I do really like them. However, I would have loved to have added an even cooler species like an Armadillidium or a Cubaris, but at the time I just wanted a hardy species because I didn't know how everything would turn out. As well as that, these are my Centrobolus annulatus fire red millipedes. We've got the ants nesting in wood, and at the same time we also have some baby crickets that have bred from the crickets you actually saw at the very start of the video. Now you can see the size comparison there. As you can imagine, it's very easy for these to become a snack, and I have seen it many of times within this tank. But as well as the grubs to the Pashnora beetles, I also do have darkling beetles in here, which are the beetles for mealworms. I do also have the beetles for superworms as well, which you will see a couple of times within the video. At this point, the easiest thing for me to do is to give the tank any leftovers. I don't know if you saw a couple of clips back, but that apple you see there on the left is that same apple. I didn't actually bury the apple whatsoever. It's naturally just been eaten from underneath from the worms or anything that's eaten it from below, which is pretty much everything within the tank. And here you can see my rosy-legged millipedes. I also have some giant African millipedes in here alongside those bumblebees, the fire reds and some natives. And if you remember how basic it looked at the start with that waterfall section, although I did love and I do still miss it, you might have already noticed, but what I've done is I added quite large logs inside the setup. I have changed things around ever so slightly. However, I did do that because the millipedes, the grubs, all sorts of animals and things in this tank will benefit from it. And also if I need to add anything in the future that has dead wood or something like that as a requirement, I know a lot of it's already in there. But not only does it benefit the beetles, the grubs, it benefits the ants because they nest in it, it benefits the isopods because they'll eat it, it benefits the worm. Every single thing in here pretty much benefits from this dead wood. Not only does it give it a really good food source, not only that, but it gives all of the microfauna a place to hide. And end of the day, with so many predators and prey, it's a good idea to give them a diverse area just like they would have in the wild, so that way they can hide and protect themselves when things like this arise. These crickets, however, are opportunists. Now this ant was already dead, but it's currently eating the juiciest part from the gaster. The reason it's doing so is because that's where they store the food, and no doubt it's still got some sugars left over. It's probably got something left over before it unfortunately died, or what looks like killed off by something else. I have seen crickets go for the ants, the larger crickets. It's almost like a small food chain within that. The smaller ants go for the smaller crickets, but the adult crickets go for the ants. So that way, again, it's just a good cycle. The fire ants never stop relocating nests. It's just something that they love to do, or it seems to me like they love doing. The darkling beetle, however, has decided he will be the traffic jam on this busy highway during that move. You can actually see the ants carrying eggs and brood to the next chambers as well, and during this whole thing, he just walks straight across it, realises, and hops off the railway. Whilst I've got a moment as well, if you'd be able to drop a like on the video, that will go a million miles for the channel. Genuinely, it really would. You have no idea how much that helps the algorithm and basically the video. If you do want to see updates on this tank or other things I've got planned for the future, which are a lot of quite big things, I'm going to do themed tanks like all Asian species, like of ants, even the plants I'll try and mimic the soil structure, everything. So if you do like the sound of that or things similar to this, then I think hopefully this is a channel for you. So don't forget to subscribe if you do want to see more updates, and at the same time more content just like this. At this point, my question would be, how many legs is too many legs? The giant African millipedes are definitely one of the favourite things that I have in this tank. Not only are they such a conversation starter, but they're such a beautiful species to actually keep. Every single thing about them is super cool, and I have had some breeding action on this video. The great thing is that they are small now, or juveniles. I will see and do see them out and about, but again, an update in 4 months time will determine what stage they're at and how many are on the surface just exploring this tank. I also have a few snail species in here, as well as these bean weevils. But the morning geckos must be one of my favourite things in here. They are so cool. They actually lay identical clones of themselves. So that gecko you saw licking the water off the glass at the start of the video, it would have been one of these eggs. Now, I've probably added these Armadillidium zebras way too late, but it adds a pop of colour. Whenever new food is dropped in though, that's when the feast happens. There's no problem, they all work together in a sense that they're backpack riding each other all the time, they don't bother with each other. It genuinely is just peace and harmony within the tank. But these Passionoda beetles are so pretty, and I am very glad that they turned out to be okay. At least I know there's enough food in there for them. And yes, the cricket does eat a lot of the leaves, so I also keep my eye on the amount of crickets in here as well. Turns out within the native isopods I added in here, I did end up with an Armadillidium myself, and what a super cool variant, isn't it? It's almost like copper. This isn't something I thought I'd be saying every single day, but here you can see a Passionoda beetle eating alongside a rosy-legged millipede. They are currently sharing a kiwi. I don't know if it was just me as well, but when you go back a little bit when it was closest or most zoomed into the beetle grub, you will see like a little face on the beetle's back in its shell or its pattern. So yeah, just go back and have a look if you didn't see it. I know I'm a child, but I found it quite funny. I promise you that on the next video of this tank, it will be an even bigger update. It'll be much longer than 15 minutes and I'll try and do a whole documentary on it. In the meantime, there is so many videos that I've posted in the last 2 years on this channel. A lot of how-to guides, even from propagating moss to also how to raise isopods, millipedes, sort of different how-to videos and setting up my own natural bioactive setups on this channel. Don't forget to go and have a look at those, as well as quite a few shorts that I've also posted on this channel too. But I will be leaving you now with all of these time lapses. I only piled up around a minute's worth of footage on this, but I think either way, you know, you guys would quite like to see the rest of it. So I'll leave you with that. But as always from me guys, I really appreciate you watching the video. It's been absolutely awesome. I love you all, and although it's been a while, it's really good to be back. And yeah, honestly, it's I can't be more grateful for all of you people waiting and standing by, and actually, you know, even to the members on this channel as well. You guys have stayed loyal, and I can't appreciate you all enough. So as always from me, peace and love. I'm out.